What is going down, everybody, and welcome to this week's episode of the Hot Mic here on the Outlaw Nation channel, brought to you by Above the Line, the fine folks over there at AboveTheLine.com. A lot of fantastic articles this week. Go and check them out today and catch up on everything that's going on in the world of entertainment. And, of course, we're going to do that as well here on the Hot Mic. I am the Outlaw John Rocha, joined as always by my co-host, the Sneider himself, Jeff Sneider. How you feeling, Jeff? How you doing?
I'm good, Johnny boy. Good to see you. I'm a little stressed. It's been a crazy afternoon. I mean,
I know this week was kind of chill, and then the last couple of days just been like woof, all kinds of news falling on top of itself.
Like, because it's Thursday and our competition or the trades, they don't want to think of us as competition. They don't know what the hell is going to come out of my mouth, though. So I just feel like on Thursdays, they're just like bombs away.
Drop more. We got to get ahead of Sneider. That's a fair point. It's a fair point. Certainly, we've seen that before with other studios, finding out for sure. Well, thanks to everybody who's joining us. Please want to remind you all to subscribe to the channel right now. If you haven't subscribed to the Outlaw Nation channel, do it now. This is the kind of content that you get on the Outlaw Nation channel. Also, hit a like on this video. And if you're watching later, and a lot of you do, please leave a comment down below about everything Jeff and I are talking about. Sometimes we'll respond to them. I read all of them, try to like as many as I can, but also like to go back and forth with some of you all. Try to keep it respectful, but certainly respond down below. We would appreciate that here. Also, remember the StreamLabs and SuperChats are open. Send in your support through StreamLabs. You see the address above Jeff's head. I'm going to pin it in the chat. It's also in the description of this video. So send in or send in your SuperChats, whatever works best for you to support everything we got going on here on the Hot Mic and the Outlaw Nation channel. All right, Jeff, I asked you what you wanted to start off with. You said you want to hit the early people, the people that show up on time. You want to drop the rumor bombs on them now, not for those people coming a little bit later casually, the LA people. You want to drop it for the people who are on time. So please.
I've got a lot of things this week, like thin things. Like I hear, wisps and things like that. Nothing really confirmed or solid.
Okay.
I'm going to start, and we'll see what we get to and what comes up organically and all that. And I know you guys want to talk about my tweets and all that. We will. Don't worry.
Oh, don't worry. We will. Yeah.
No, don't worry. Johnny's calling me out. He's not letting me off the hook for those. Okay. So here's the big rumor that I was teasing, and the rumor that I thought could sort of transcend movie blogs and actually become real news if it was true.
Okay.
Which I don't know that it is. Do not aggregate this. Take this with a huge grain of salt.
Okay.
I have one source on this. So
one source. Okay.
A source. Okay. Let me try to. I want to set this up. I want to tell a good story here, right? A couple months ago, this podcast.
Yes.
Put out a story. We'd heard a rumor. We put it out there. I know it had upset some of our competitors who were holding on to this little nugget of information. That Mr. Leonardo DiCaprio was looking at working with Paul Thomas Anderson.
Yeah.
We didn't know what the project was. There had been rumors about a 40s set jazz movie, but I know, he'd been talking to Denzel Washington about that potentially. Yes. But then there was this little nugget that there was this organized crime element now in that script. So was Leo that? Okay, now we've got these breakdowns that come out, right? The last month or so, saying that Paul Thomas Anderson is looking for like a young woman proficient in martial arts.
Yeah.
Or boxing or something like that. But I just have no one knows what the hell is going on with Paul Thomas Anderson's new movie other than it's supposed to shoot this summer.
Right.
It seems very under wraps. I couldn't get anything out of anybody.
Okay.
Someone came to me this week and they said that they've heard. Take the first part with a bigger grain of salt than what I'm about than the second part.
Okay.
They've heard that Paul Thomas Anderson is working on a movie about the current GOP.
Ooh.
I don't know about that or whether that's true because it doesn't fit the rest of the information that I have.
Oh, interesting.
But the part that made my ears perk up and made me be like, oh, this is something that's it should be easy to confirm somehow.
Wow.
It seems like it could make actual news. is that I've heard Paul Thomas Anderson is currently searching for an actress to play Marjorie Taylor Greene.
Wow. Really? Really? I mean, that gets me, it gets my mind going immediately, because we know he's done a takedown of Scientology with The Master. We've seen him explore the idea of, you know, the early tycoons in There Will Be Blood. We've seen him exploring the porn industry at the turn of the 70s into the 80s. So, but those are all past stuff. This is something that would be current, is still evolving as we see MTG having more and more power thanks to Kevin McCarthy being a feckless, spineless jellyfish. Would it be her in the lead, or would this be about the entire GOP and how they came into power under Trump's?
Well, this is the thing. I don't know that it is about the GOP. I'm not sure.
Okay.
I don't know what the hell is going on. So
Okay.
I think, okay, here's a theory.
Okay.
If you've got, I'm told this is a father-daughter story. Like the people who have actors in the mix, like they say it's a father-daughter story that Paul Thomas Anderson is doing.
Okay.
And that Leo is poised to play the father.
Yeah.
And so if his daughter is involved in boxing or martial arts or whatever, here's the possible connection. If that is the plot, if it's just a father-daughter story.
Okay. Okay.
Before she was a crazy right-wing controversial politician,
Yes.
Marjorie Taylor Greene was a CrossFit trainer.
Yes.
So is that the MTG that we could be seeing in this? Before she lost her marbles and she was just a CrossFit trainer in Georgia.
Right.
Is that description of the father-daughter fighting stuff, is that a front? Is that not the real premise of the movie? And it really is about the current GOP.
Right.
You know, is that just like a fake synopsis that they put out there for the breakdown?
Right.
And that's where all the confusion is. So what I feel comfortable saying at this point is that I don't think Paul Thomas Anderson's next movie is the 40s jazz movie.
Okay, which had been rumored.
We'll say that it is this father-daughter story.
Yeah.
Involving fighting, which would potentially involve a trainer.
Okay.
Who is potentially MTG.
Oh, interesting.
Or the initial rumor was correct, that he's actually doing a movie about the GOP, and he's either trying to cast someone to play Marjorie Taylor Greene, the politician that she is now, or he's trying to find an actress to play like a stand-in for MTG, where it's like she's going to have a different character name, but it's obviously be her.
Kind of like
could be total bullshit.
Yeah.
But I trust who's telling me it, and they, you know, I haven't been able to get that second source, but they checked it out on their end, and they said, and agency sources came back and said, this is true. He's looking for someone to play MTG.
Wow. So it doesn't necessarily, it might be an element of the movie. It might not be the focus of the movie.
Right. I don't think she's the focus. I think Leo is the lead.
Okay.
And so is, you know, this younger woman, no matter what it's about.
Right. So maybe in some kind of indirect way, maybe she was a trainer or she's a competitor against this person. And we've seen famous people pop up in other people's stories in real life. And so, and they've been turned into movies. So it's certainly possible that that's just an element of the movie, but not the focus of the movie. And maybe seeing what happened to that person and how crazy it was that person, they crossed over into this other person's sphere. So a very interesting decision by PTA.
So when you look at like Licorice Pizza, that had Benny Safdie as Joel Walks. Right. The you know, California politician or whatever. Yeah. And he's not, you know, that's not like a big role in that movie or whatever. So maybe it's something along that size. Yeah, maybe. But yeah, I just felt like it was too juicy to ignore. And I had to put it out there, had to. Yeah. As for the Leo of it all, I do think that this is going to be Leo at the end of the day. Yeah. Someone else had told me he wants to do it, but hadn't committed yet, and that PTA actually had Joaquin as a backup. Wow. That you know, if Leo, for whatever reason, if it follows through, Joaquin would love to jump in there. Right. So yeah, that's basically all I got. I think.
Wow. That's
I
massive.
Interesting though, John. Like I'm doing the research because I did have an article ready to go on this for Above the Line, but I'm not publishing it, right? Because I couldn't get that confirmation. He's been nominated for 11 Oscars.
PTA has, yes.
Never won one, which is like fucking crazy to me.
Yeah.
And it's like, could I see him maybe going like an Adam McKay type of route? You know, like to basically go out and get that Oscar and make his version of, you know, an Adam McKay politics movie. It wouldn't shock me.
Right.
It doesn't. I don't get this real political vibe from PTA. It doesn't strike me as a super political filmmaker.
Well, does he have to be? I mean, it's about exploring the institution, right? I mean, he explored the institution of Scientology and religion, or this idea of being beholden to one man running things who's an imperfect man. Same thing with There Will Be Blood. So maybe there's something here that attracts him to these flawed institutions and how they've been perceived or promoted, but really within the inside, they're rotting from the inside out because the person at the head of it is actually not, you know, as someone you should be idolizing in our world because of how they run things. That's a possibility.
Yeah. I know we have a lot of show to get to, so we don't get too hung up on like breaking down what could be like a BS piece of news or whatever, but like
still fun.
It was too interesting to ignore. And she's like everywhere these days.
Fair point. Real quick, hit a couple of these super chats before we move on to our next thing. Dennis Hoffman says, love the show. Been a fan of Jeff since The Wrap. John since Collider. Thank you. Question for Jeff. Any word on your boy, Jake Gyllenhaal, in Profit with Sam Hargrave attached to direct? Any word?
No. I mean, listen, you know, a lot of these projects get announced in their development titles, and especially with like, is Profit a comic book? I assume that it is, or a graphic novel of some kind. Yeah. I mean, anything that's modestly or mildly successful gets optioned and whatever and taken off the table. But no, I haven't heard too much about that.
Okay. Love Daggerborn says, Jeff, have you heard anything about Master of Air?
Masters of the Air, I assume you're asking about. I mean, I think that is going to be awesome. I mean, that is probably my number one most anticipated show of the year.
Fair enough. All right. Christopher sent in some stuff last week, but I can't read them all, Christopher, so I'm going to hit a couple of these. Hi, guys. Jeff, 2 weeks ago, you mentioned that Yahya Abdul-Mateen II might be cast in the upcoming Lindelof Star Wars movie.
I didn't say that, but go on.
You did. Just curious if you've heard any news who might be in the running for the female lead.
No, I haven't heard anything about the female lead. And again, what I said with Yahya in Star Wars, I left you guys to draw your own connection. Yes, I said that when Damon set up his Star Wars movie, I'm told it actually came with talent attached, a piece of talent, a black man. Okay. When you look at who Damon has worked with and, you know, worked with recently and who fit that description of the clue that I was given, someone who's bounced between film and television successfully, that kind of thing. Yeah. Yahya Abdul-Mateen was the star of his Watchmen series. I just said, draw the, you know, 1 + 1 = 2. You know, I don't know if he is the guy. But you know, why, you know, he seems like a great place to start from if you're doing Star Wars on the big screen again.
I agree. All right. One word answers. Who do you think should play the DCU's Batman?
Who do I think should play the DCU's Batman?
You want to leave that one alone?
How old are we talking? How old is he?
Like 30.
30?
40. He's got a kid, right? So they're going to do Brave and Bold.
Yeah, I think he's older than that. I mean, he's got to have a kid who's like going to fight.
Right.
So he's probably got like a 20-year-old kid or something like that.
Probably, yeah.
So he's probably in his 50s. Someone, I mean, you know, people have heard, you know, said John Hamm or something like that, but you know, someone threw out a good one. What about Brolin?
Josh Brolin? Ooh, interesting.
Close? Wasn't he close to being Batman once before?
I kind of like that idea. Do you think Mangold will end up directing Swamp Thing?
Not really. I kind of don't, but I don't know. Like, how do I know what's going through these guys' heads? It struck me as like, I was like, really? James Mangold? You want to go from like Indiana Jones and that to like Swamp Thing? But who knows?
Okay. All right. One last one here. Are you hearing any names for Fantastic Four? And is there any movement on the Star Wars project being written by Dan Hernandez and Benji Samit?
What was the last part of that?
Are you hearing any movement on the Star Wars project being written by Dan Hernandez and Benji Samit?
No, I got nothing on that Star Wars one. As far as Fantastic Four goes, I mean, so Yeah, whatever.
Do you want it? I don't think you should do it. But if you want to do it.
No, not the person
Okay.
I threw out there. No, last week, though, when we were talking about her age, right? Sue Storm's age.
Yeah.
Gone on and said that they're going to start building around Sue Storm. And then I'd put out Saoirse, and someone had come forward and said Saoirse seems a little too young.
Right.
So we're looking at that 30 to 35 age range. And, from what I understand, Dakota Johnson is the prototype, but it's not obviously going to be Dakota Johnson because she is Madam Web.
She's Madam Web,
right?
Yeah.
Which I believe is undergoing reshoots right now, too. So it's not going to be Dakota Johnson, but Dakota Johnson is 32, I think.
Mm-hmm.
So, does that mean that they're looking at a white woman? Not necessarily. But, I think in an ideal world,
yeah,
in an ideal world, they would like someone like Dakota Johnson.
Yeah, fair enough. John Spiliotopoulos says, I am going to give you another chance to pronounce my name. I just did it. Get it wrong. Give me back my $50.
Ooh.
LOL, JK, love you guys.
I like it.
All right. Any other rumors you want to drop right off the bat, or should we move on to this Lord of the Rings story?
Okay, I'll do. There are a few. The only thing I'll say is, okay, so in November and December, there was a flurry of rumors.
Yeah.
About Tom Holland.
Yes.
Popping up in Across the Spider-Verse, potentially.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that they asked, who did they ask? Who was it? Chris Miller, maybe?
I think it was.
They got some quotes from one of the guys. I think it was Chris Miller, who said, all I'll say is it's the multiverse and anything could happen.
Right.
I'd heard, that part of the delay, right? Because Across the Spider-Verse was delayed, right? I think I heard part of the delay was about getting Tom Holland in that movie. And that one of the dimensions that Miles could end up going to or whatever is a live action dimension with Tom Holland. So
wow.
I don't, again, this is on the heels of all the rumors about Tom Holland re-signing his new deal and Marvel and Sony coming to a new agreement and everything, which, again, there hasn't been any official word or confirmation on that stuff, but would it surprise me if there was a live action Tom Holland scene in the middle of Across the Spider-Verse? No.
I remember seeing 20 minutes of the anime. I think we were in the theater too, Jeff. We saw 20 minutes of the animatics for Across the Spider-Verse. It was pretty fantastic. So it seems like you could, and we've seen the trailers already that have come out. And Christopher Miller, when he laid down that those comments, they were in November in an issue of Empire magazine saying anything's possible in the multiverse. I don't think they'd say that if they weren't already thinking about it and finding a way to make that be a possibility. So I reached out to a couple of people who I know, and they were like, oh, yeah, it's pretty much what we think is going to happen. So it seems like it's leaning or going towards that direction. And something tells me that Tom Holland would love to be part of another Spider-Man franchise or an arm of the first Spider-Man franchise that is so beloved just off one movie. So I think he'd do it in a heartbeat. It makes all the sense in the world.
Again, just a rumor, no confirmation on that.
Right. Fair point. All right, 370 joining us right now. Make sure you hit a like on this video right now, but also subscribe to the channel down below here on the Outlaw Nation channel. All right, Jeff, anything more, or shall we move on?
Well, Mike Joyce asked an interesting question. Would Miles be animated when he meets Tom Holland? I would assume so. I don't think that they're trying to cast a live action Miles in this. I would assume that it's just going to be an animated Miles, but in in a live action world.
Yeah, so that's very possible there. All right, let's move on to this Lord of the Rings stuff, and let's talk about it here, Jeff. This broke just like an hour ago, or a couple hours ago here. Numerous people reporting, Boris Kidd over here in the Hollywood Reporter, saying the new Lord of the Rings movies are in the works at Warner Brothers with New Line, and they've apparently struck a multi-year pact with Swedish gaming giant Embracer Group, which holds the film rights to the. I don't know how they got the film rights out from under. It's incredible how these film rights get passed from company to company, and who ends up owning them. But anyway, they're going to do this, and they want to produce new Lord of the Rings films, games, merchandise, theme park attractions, and live productions. That's all part of it here. And this was announced today at Warner Brothers Discovery's investor call by David Zaslav. So, and of course, Amazon has the TV rights for what they're doing, but that stuff is set in the past. This, you imagine, would be from the Lord of the Rings forward, from these movies that we got from Peter Jackson. So What's your reaction to this news, Jeff? Does this make sense? As you tweeted out, as you said, in a world of superheroes, do we need Middle Earth?
I mean, it makes sense in the sense that, like, okay, the rights to Lord of the Rings are available. Like, if you're Warner Brothers, what are you going to do? Let Universal go get them? Let Netflix go get them? Like,
That's true.
You have the inside track on that because of your relationship and what you did with those rights in the past, which is, make them into billion-dollar trilogies. You do the rights deal. Doesn't mean that they're committed to making more movies, but you don't go and get the rights unless you want to make more movies. I was actually surprised in researching that article.
Yeah.
Well, the Hobbit movies did.
How well the Hobbit movies did?
Hobbit movies did as well as the Lord of the Rings movies. I thought for sure that they did half as well. I thought they did half as well.
A bunch of these nerds, they want to bury the Hobbit movies. Fuck them. The Hobbit movies, in my opinion, are better than the Lord of the Rings movies. I don't catch myself falling asleep during the Hobbit movies because I'm watching the Fellowship run across the hills for 4 hours. Like, I'm legitimately invested in everything that's happening. So to me, the Hobbit movies get supremely disrespected by the Lord of the Rings.
I literally had written the sentence disrespecting them, and then I was like, I should fact check that, and I was way off. I was totally wrong. But I think I only saw the first Hobbit movie. I didn't see the other two, so I didn't think it was very good. I don't think it was on the quality level of the Lord of the Rings.
How dare you?
As far I don't like. Listen, I respect the Lord of the Rings. I liked those movies. I've seen them once. I'll never see them again. I'm never going to watch the TV show. I'm not a fantasy guy. I don't care about this stuff. So I don't know what they do with it or going forward. I think it was kind of cool that like Peter Jackson had a statement like that he's been kept in the loop about all of this.
Right.
And we'll see, what direction, Warner Brothers wants to take it. But clearly they're thinking of him, and he's, if you can bring him back, why wouldn't you?
Yeah. Right. I don't know. I mean, what has he done since? Not really.
What's he done since Lord of the Rings?
It's been a bit. It's been a bit. Those are 2000, dude. 23 years.
Do you want to see someone else's vision of this world?
Yes.
That it may just be as simple as that.
Yeah, I want to see a different person's vision of the Lord of the Rings movies. I enjoyed the TV show for the most part. So it was a nice different approach. I like new approaches to things. Peter Jackson coming back, we're going to get more of the slow motion, handheld, weird kind of stuff that he's doing in some of those battles. I don't need to see that, but you're right. Keeping them in the loop with Philippa Boyens and Fran Walsh. They released a statement saying we look forward to speaking with them, being the studios, further to hear their vision for the franchise going forward. So there's no guarantee that he will want to come back, and they will want to come back, Fran and Philippa as well, to be a part of this. So like you said, it all depends on what direction they're going to go with this stuff. And look, this was an arduous shoot, Jeff. So I can only imagine he's gotten older, 20 years, I think, since the last one was released under his watch. So is that something he really wants to put his body through again? All those arduous hours shooting on set in those cold conditions in that situation? I don't know.
I think it wouldn't shock me if Peter Jackson and Fran and Philippa Boyens, if they wind up producing, these movies to sort of help steer and guide whatever film, kind of like Spielberg and Colin Trevorrow on the Jurassic movies, right?
Yeah.
I could definitely see that kind of an arrangement. I guess we'll see. Obviously, this is just about the rights. There was no movie announced. It was just like a business deal basically today. So I think this is still a long way off. But to answer your questions from the beginning, you're right. Like, these movies came out at a time where there was no MCU and there was no DCU, and now that those things exist,
right?
Do you still sink all that money into Lord of the Rings? Like, could it still perform at the level that it did before? Or is it just a new ball game these days? Especially when I can click a button and get the Lord of the Rings series on my TV right now.
Yeah. Look, I'm looking at it's on, and Netflix followed up with a tweet about 2 hours ago saying you can enjoy all the Lord of the Rings movies on Netflix. So they certainly taking advantage of the situation. Look, They Shall Not Grow Old, great documentary. He did the Hobbit films from 2013 to 2015. The Beatles Get Back documentary. But before that, King Kong was terrible. The Lovely Bones was not that well received. And what was the other thing? But but you can't give me the Beatles. He edited that. He didn't shoot that. There's a fucking difference. People trying to tell me he shot that. He didn't shoot the documentary, people. He edited from the footage. So yes, fantastic editing job. He didn't make the movie. There's a difference, Just throwing it out there for people trying to tell me he did something besides Lord of the Rings. You got to start from the beginning for him. So yeah. Mortal Engines he produced. He didn't direct, right? He didn't direct that when he produced it. That being said, I enjoyed Heavenly Creatures. Of course, Melanie Linsky back in our pop culture zeitgeist because of Yellow Jackets and Last of Us. I liked Frighteners. His smaller stuff is more my cup of tea. And yes, people said he directed the Hobbit movies. Yeah, I feel like he learned from the Lord of the Rings movies not to show us hobbits running across fields for 9 hours, and did a better job on the Hobbit, in my opinion.
I'm not a Peter Jackson guy. I respect him. I admire his talent. But
yeah, of course, he's an incredible talented man. Let's see. Mr. 199 says, do you have any news about the Tom Holland Sam Mendes rumor you mentioned 2 weeks ago?
No.
Okay.
What was someone was the no, I don't know.
Okay. All right. I like the idea of Denis Villeneuve. His Lord of the Rings after Dune. Give that to me all day and pump it right into my fucking veins. All right, let's take a quick break, and then we're going to jump into some more news topics right after this. All right, Jeff, where do you want to go next? What do you feel? What are you feeling right now?
Let's just talk about my tweets, John. Give it to me. Tell me what a horrible piece of shit I am.
Jeff just wants to rip off the band. Let's take a look at these angry tweets from my friend Jeff Sneider.
You're reading them with anger.
Sure, if the Woman King had been directed by me, let her and starred Charlize, it would have swept the Oscars. Like, what is it? Look, I'm not going to read them all, Jeff.
My idea. This is a critic, right? Clarice Lowry, or whatever her name is.
Yes.
Put out this suggestion that if the Woman King and Till had starred white people, well, looking at history, they would have been showered with nominations. And I'm sorry to break it to you, but it doesn't matter if Amy Adams or fucking Meryl Streep starred in Till. That movie wasn't getting nominated because it wasn't getting seen, because nobody wants to spend their Saturday night when they have a pile of screeners watching Till. I'm sorry.
Okay, but again, To Leslie made $27,000. No one was watching To Leslie, Jeff. No one. So your point kind of is on shaky ground here, because no one was watching that shit either, yet somehow she got nominated.
Because it's like I say one thing and then say, well, that point doesn't apply to this movie, so how could it make sense? There's like 8 zillion different points here. Like, again, this isn't a novel. These are tweets, right?
Yes.
You have a character limit. You can't put it all out there at once. And so it comes out in fragments at a time. I think so it's funny. I got a text after, all this, the dust had settled, from the editor-in-chief of LA Magazine.
Okay.
And when I get that, I don't hear from him. It's not the editor I deal with at LA Magazine. So when he texted, I was like, oh, fuck. Like, I'm basically getting fired for this.
You get the
That's not what he said at all. He said, I want you to write a column about this. So I got hired to write a column, and that is what a good editor does. A bad editor buries their head in the sand and says, this is too controversial. This Jeff Sneider, he's an angry guy. I can't have him work for the publication. No, a good editor says there's something to this idea. Yeah. And we're going to find what it is and cut out all of Jeff's bullshit and whatever, and we're going to edit it properly and go through it together and find the point that he's trying to make.
Right.
And that's what we're working on now. And hopefully I'll have that ready for Oscar week. But it's ridiculous. I want to give you an example, John.
Go ahead, please.
Before this started, I was reading an article on ESPN.
Okay.
About Eric Bieniemy.
Bieniemy, that's right. The new offensive coordinator for the Washington Commanders. Yes.
That's right. Okay. Now, he interviewed for 15 different teams for head coaching positions, right?
He did,
and he failed to land a job.
He did.
And what is the,
what is the what?
The implication there is racism, correct?
Right.
And maybe that is true.
What do you mean?
But that's listen to where I'm going with this. Okay. Bieniemy says everybody's entitled to their own stance and their own positioning. My job is to eliminate all the distractions. I can't worry about the things I can't control. I don't get down. I don't let any opportunity take me down. My job is to create the necessary energy.
Right.
I would love to see Hollywood respond like that. You didn't see Eric Bieniemy being like, yeah, I interviewed 15 times for jobs and I won 2 Super Bowls and I didn't get hired and it's because I'm black and everybody's a racist.
Okay.
Instead, like why can't people respond like that?
Yeah, but that's the thing. You're a white guy saying, why can't diverse people shut the fuck up, accept the situation, and just work harder at a system that is engineered to fuck them over at every fucking turn? This is amazing to me that you don't see it. Bieniemy, Brian Flores, who is black, sued the NFL, outed 2 owners for tanking teams, and still was hired by the Pittsburgh Steelers. You can be a rabble rouser and be hired still to work in the NFL because black men, and that's who Tomlin is, the coach of the Pittsburgh Steelers, understand what it's like for other black men in the NFL to try to find jobs, all right? What is Bieniemy going to say? If he wants to be a head coach, he can't go, yeah, fuck this, how's racism, fuck that shit. No white owner, which is almost the entire NFL, is going to hire a aggressive black man who dares to take a strong stance against the NFL. It's not going to fucking happen, Jeff. You want people of color to be like, oh, thank you. Can I get another? Thank you. Okay. Oh, okay. I'll work harder next time. What the fuck? He went to 2 Super Bowls. He won 2 Super Bowls with Patrick Mahomes.
I'm not saying that black people need to react one way or the other.
It is what you just said. Why can't Hollywood react like this?
No, if you go back to the tweets, and as I write in the column that will be coming out, hopefully, I can't argue with how Gina Prince Bythewood feels. She's entitled to her feelings,
right?
Okay, but there are points in that piece, and I go through them in the column that I've written, point by point by point, where she's just wrong. She's just there are these leaps and assumptions made, and it's just these are excuses. No one is anything. Viola Davis didn't have a nomination that was stolen from her. Danielle Deadweiler didn't have a nomination that was stolen from her. They didn't have the nominations. So it's just like, I'm just sick of it. Everything gets blamed on race. The only fucking color that Hollywood gives a shit about, John, is green.
Yeah.
I promise. I promise that they don't give a shit if you are purple or orange. All they care about is money.
I think this is a fascinating thing for you to say in terms of the fact that they do care about color. Other than green, because in their minds, as it has been for numerous decades, there are a majority of studio heads, studio chiefs, studio executives who think the white color makes more green than the black color or the Latino color or the Asian color or any other color under the sun, Native American color. They have always defaulted to it. And you know what sucks is all these little internet trolls on their little internet YouTube sites. The second a woman is cast as a lead or a person of color is cast as a lead, woke culture gone wild, woke culture gone wild. You've had decades of white people leading your shit. Calm the fuck down, sit the fuck back, and let other people drive the ship for a while. It's okay. We'll live.
You're talking about people on the internet. I don't know what they have to do with this conversation about.
It's connected. It's all connected. I don't look at things in a vacuum, Jeff. They're all connected. That's what I'm saying. The executives
and I'm saying the opposite, John. Literally, the awards are in a vacuum. They're not competing against the history or the ghosts of the Academy or who won Best Supporting Actress in 1962. It is about they are competing against these movies that came out this year. And that's
you have such a utopia. It's amazing to me. You are so cynical about everything in life, but somehow the Academy voters are bathed in this white, glorious light from God, where they couldn't possibly be affected by outside things to affect their votes. They're pure of spirit and of mind. And every time they cast a vote, they are heaven sent in their decision making and couldn't possibly be affected by any outside forces. You're insane. You're absolutely insane to say that.
You're wrong.
They're human beings, Jeff. They're all subject to bias.
You're right. And I'm giving, dude, you're so wrong.
I'm not wrong
here. I'm giving the possibility. I'm saying, sure, there are racists in the Academy, just like there are racist dentists, and you leave your kids with racist babysitters at night. Right. And there are racist bus drivers and racist movie tickets. There's racists in every corner, right?
Yes.
And I will give you the Academy. But here's the thing.
Okay.
The other side of it, the Gina Prince, by the way, et cetera, they don't give the possibility that everything was on the up and up and their movie just wasn't well liked enough. They don't give that. That's not a possibility to them. It's just racism. And I'm sick of it. It's not true.
You're sick of the last 3 to 4 years of people of color being able to finally talk about this openly in articles and in tweets and in social media, when we've had to deal with white people talking about us openly in negative terms in our media, in our movies, in our TV shows and whatever for decades, and you all can't handle it for a few years? Get the fuck out of here, man. Grow thicker skin, grow stronger spines, get some nuts in your pants, and deal with it. This is the truth of life, okay? The pendulum is swung the other way, and white people all of a sudden can't fucking handle it. Grow up. We have had to deal with your shit for decades in this world.
Dude.
Decades.
It's just like everything else. Everything just becomes about race.
No, you're the one.
No one's talking about the movies. No one's
brought up race.
No one talks about, is this movie good enough? Was this actress good enough? It's always the race. Always. No one has had the conversation.
No. I think the foundational piece is this movie is good. It checked every single box that other historical epics in the past, led by white people, have checked and got nominated by the Oscars. Not won, just nominated. It did A+ cinema score. It did good in the box office. Got well reviewed by the critics. Everything.
John, what does the fucking cinema score have to do with Oscars?
I'm putting it all in together as an aggregated thing all together.
It has nothing to do with it. People who come out of fucking Woman King and give it an A+ cinema score, are they voting for Oscars?
No, of course. I don't know. They could be.
Nothing. She just laid out all these things, all these boxes, all these markers that everyone else has checked. Just because this movie won Best Picture and it checked all these boxes doesn't mean you check all the same boxes too, and that means you get to win Best Picture. It's not.
No, not you get to win. I think she was only clamoring for a nomination, Jeff. That's all. It's recognition by the Academy that the film that she directed subjectively deserves a nomination because of what it brought to the table. And she's using these other films as reference points because this has happened in the past consistently with other historical epics led by white people that check the same boxes. That's her point. She's trying to figure out why this happened. And the only common denominator is it's a black movie about black aggressive women fighting against the white power establishment. It does not need white help to do it.
She's up against competition that all these movies over here weren't up against, right? The movies that whether it's Black Panther, which got nominated, right?
Not for Best Picture, it didn't. You mean Wakanda Forever, you mean? Or which one? You talking about 2018? The
first film.
Oh, yeah. Yes.
So what happened in the interim? Why are we okay? The Academy was fine nominating that movie for Best Picture, but now it's not okay doing The Woman King. Did it somehow become more racist in the last few years? Or could it just be that The Woman King wasn't as good as Black Panther? Could it be?
I don't know. And I think I think we can both agree on this, right? We can both agree on this. I agree with you. What is the difference? What happened here? And I think this is, again, okay, I won't go all the way to where I really believe, which is every individual score should be published, but at least the numbers. We need to see how many people actually voted. We need to see what they voted for. We need to see it broke down by demographics. We need to see it broke down by percentages, by age, by gender, by self-identifying sexual, if you're non-binary or whatever. We need to see all the numbers. And I think that's how you end all this shit.
That. That's an interesting idea. And we talked about that on the phone, in the middle of my week or whatever.
Yeah.
Because I'm like, no one's publishing their individual ballots. But when you say, I'd like to see, because there's this idea that white people are only voting for white people, and if we bring black people in, then more black people will get voted for. Like, I don't want that to be right on either side. Okay?
No, I think they're saying more films of color will be considered because white people don't seem to identify with a lot of those films. That's what they're trying to say. But I hear you.
Your suggestion about doing it by racial breakdown. So, like, here's, the white people of the Academy, and, 10% of them voted for Top Gun and 15% voted for this. And like, that would be interesting.
Yeah.
I don't know that you could do it you'd have to do it for the nominees, not for the things that don't get nominated, right?
Right.
Agreed. I don't think you'd ever find out how many white people or what percentage of the white people in the Academy voted for The Woman King, because it ultimately didn't get in. But I like where your head's at with regard to that, because it makes more sense to me than your other suggestion of everyone's ballot should be publicized.
Yeah, I know. I believe I'll believe that till the day I die because I believe in full transparency on everything. And so for me, that's the way I look at it because it's the Oscars. It's a fucking gold statuette. It ain't changing the world. Do you know what I'm saying? Like the thing is, you got to look at the importance of it all. And if we can hide who people are voting for in an election, that makes sense to me because that's a personal thing. It's about the future of the country.
With
Who are you voting for a movie? I mean, that's really nothing in my mind. You know, I love the Oscars, worship the Oscars, praise the Oscars. But in the long run, it's just an award, a trinket you're giving to someone else for a job well done, and you hope it influences other filmmakers and creators coming up behind you. But in the long run, I just don't think it's as important as like an election. So this hiding of votes or hiding who voted for what, I think is just childish in my opinion.
My rant, by the way, was not so much about Black people need to stop, be quiet, and take what they can get. My problem is not actually with the talent or the Academy. It's actually with the media. Because I think the media keeps basically saying everyone's racist, everything's divisive, click. It's all fucking hate clickbait. Yeah. And I think the media has a real problem. They don't know how to look at awards. They don't know how to look at it through anything but the lens of race. And that is what is destroying the awards. It's the coverage of the awards. So with BAFTA, okay.
Yeah.
You had the director of whatever thingamajig. It's out there in articles. Anyways, okay. He said I was part of the BAFTA review process. Yep. We added 1,000 new members. Yep. Okay, we changed 120. There were 120 changes to the BAFTA awards processes.
Right.
And nothing changed. And I say exactly. Hallelujah. Bring in all the people of color you want. There's at the end of the day, they're still going to vote for the films that they like.
Right. Yes.
And which is why the idea that people thought Angela Bassett was going to beat Kerry Condon on Kerry Condon's home turf. It's called. It's not. What is the Academy Awards? Is it the American Academy Awards? No, it's not. Okay. What is the BAFTAs? It's the British fucking Film Academy. They're there to honor European movies. I never thought Angela Bassett was going to win over fucking Kerry Condon for Banshees of Inisherin. That's a European movie. All Quiet on the Western Front, European movie. That's why those movies did so well. It's not some fucking racial conspiracy. It's that these are European movies, and Black Panther is not.
Well, and you know what? I when I saw the picture of them, I wasn't surprised when it was the BAFTAs. Yeah, I wasn't surprised at all. They're going to vote for their home turf. That's how it works. If you go to any of the other award shows that are set in different countries, they're going to default to their country's awards. Do you know what I'm saying? Like Canada, they have the Juno Awards. They're going to default to their Canadian stuff. They just do that. So for me, I didn't understand people getting upset about this. As someone who watches British television and British movies religiously with my girlfriend all the time, I know of what I'm speaking of. There are rarely people of color leading these things. There are rarely people of color leading these movies. There are certainly parts of, they're certain part of the ensemble or part of the main cast, but not usually leading. So I wasn't surprised to see the way it went down. Plus also the fact that they voted for their home turf. No surprise. So people getting upset about this, I thought was maybe like, it was like training camp. It was like a preseason game for the Oscars. I think they were just working out their plans because if this happens at the Oscars, I think we're going to see 100 think pieces about what happened here and how both Michelle Yeoh, Ki-Hu Kwan, and other people, and Angela Bassett were denied the opportunity to win these awards. And I think there's fair criticism to be had. This is the thing. It's okay to criticize. I don't understand why people get so sensitive about it. Yes. Criticize the Oscars, question the Oscars, look at it, see if there is some racism going on. Let's root it out. There's nothing wrong with that. Oscars So White was only 8 years ago. If you think an entire generation of voters is going to change their fucking mind about their approaches to things, you're wrong. And that's the thing. It takes time. So like people, the Academy can handle a little fucking criticism. Okay. They've been around for fucking 90 years. They can handle a little criticism. Jeff.
When you say that, if they don't win, they were denied the opportunity to win. No, they're nominated. They literally have the opportunity to win.
Well, okay. Fair. And you want to argue semantics, feel free.
Listen, fucking Barry Keoghan, love that dude. He's not winning a fucking Oscar. Okay. That Oscar is done.
Yeah.
So it's not going to be Oscars So White. I mean, these are just like bullshit fucking things that are good for social media. half the people bitching about that BAFTA photo probably never even fucking heard about the BAFTAs before yesterday.
You're probably 100% right.
But they see a photo with all white people, and there's the outrage.
Yeah. Well, this is why I like having this conversation with you, regardless of what some dumb people say in our chat that I only see color. I'm so much smarter than you motherfuckers on some of this shit. Sometimes it drives me nuts when you try to devalue my opinion to something so stupidly baseline that I can see through. Yeah.
Listen, I need John to have his opinion so that we can fucking bounce off each other and have this kind of chemistry.
Exactly.
Okay, so maybe you get called what? You're saying you get called dumb or stupid in the
no. What I get frustrated by,
I get called racist. Like
fair, but to know well, there's two sides of this, right? You get called a racist, and I understand that because you come out strong, so people are going to come and use those words. Anytime I bring up race now, because I'm one of the rare people in our sphere that brings up race, everyone's you always make it all about race. Because you motherfuckers never do. So somebody has to, for fuck's sake, to fill the void from you all. Just try to appeal to your white fans and play the white safe game all the time. So you don't want to lose subscribers or followers or patrons. So fuck you. I'm going to do what I do. I'm just tired of people saying, oh, you only see race. Like I talk about race 10% of the time.
Listen, if you and I are going to keep talking about race and stuff like that, you can't pay attention to the other stuff. I didn't really read a lot of the comments and the quote tweets.
No, of course not.
Hate I was getting because it's like I don't fucking care. Like it's not going to change on. I know I'm right. I was getting texts from I got a text from a major producer who just says, just so you know, loving the balls that you have on Twitter. You're 100% spot on. This is someone who actually knows the business, and he knows he just wants to make money. If fucking Daniel Kaluuya comes in with a great idea, he's going to buy it.
Of course.
It's just insane to me.
Fair. Real Be Good's got it right. Rocha doesn't care about race. He also likes soccer. That's right. There's other things in my mind. Let's hit these super chats. There's nothing to be solved here. I think we found a couple of things we can agree on here, Jeff. I did take issue with some of your terminology. I would be willing to dissect your tweets, but like you said, you've got your feelings about it, and I respect that. John Spiliotopoulos says, you did me right by pronouncing my name. That is why I love you guys. Thank you, John. Let me see. We've got some bigger ones that came through here that want to address what we were just debating about, so I don't want to mess them here. Black Cinema Critic says, if it wasn't about race, just about money, then tell me why Will Smith is not nominated for an Oscar for Emancipation. Well, I think that's more about him slapping Chris, don't you, Jeff? I thought it was a good performance.
It was. It was really good.
Yeah. I think it's him slapping.
Realize that it's not enough to have there are a lot of really good performances. Does Gina Prince Bythewood realize that she's every year she pretends that her movie was the only movie that ever hit these markers, right, and got denied. That happens every year, literally every year. There's some movie that everybody thought was going to get nominated, that everybody thought was really good, that doesn't get in.
Yeah.
Every year, there's white people on the outside looking in, just like black people.
Well, that's why I'm so confused about nerds who cried about The Dark Knight not being nominated for Best Picture or Avengers Endgame or even Karen Gillan for Best Supporting Actress, yet they have no sympathy for someone like Gina Prince Bythewood who is fighting for her movie. She's fighting for her movie. She's not just a columnist. She's fighting for her movie, and I think that deserves a more credibility than some of these nerds going nuts about Dark Knight not being nominated or one of their superhero films not being nominated. It's the Batman not being nominated. But instead they want to attack her. And I don't understand how you have such an incongruent mind pattern. It just drives me nuts. Derek Johnson says, over 100 years of whitewashing in movies and television, but you never cared about color, just money. Interesting to see a white person tell a person of color there's no bias here, nothing to see, move along, continue. Well,
again, this is a question that I think is getting at development. It's about opportunity, right? It's about who gets to make the shows.
Yes.
This is not the conversation that I'm having, folks. Okay. The people that we're talking about made the movies. They got the chances.
Yeah, true.
It's a different thing. Development, that's very real. Okay. Yeah. But when it comes to awards, no one's owed shit. No one gets anything because they're black or whatever. It's crazy to me.
But it's not about, I think you're reframing the narrative. It's not about being owed. It's not about being owed. It's a matter of what happened here. We checked all the boxes. We did everything that all these other white historical epics have done, not just black movies, Jeff. You're trying to compare Woman King to any other black movie. Bullshit. It is a historical epic that happens to star black people. There's a difference.
Did the other historical epics that were nominated in the past, did they have to compete with 4 blockbusters like Avatar and Top Gun? Like, were there these great blockbusters that came out in that year? Probably not. So,
I don't know.
Okay. Again, the competition is different every year. So I never understand. And this goes way before outside of the race stuff.
Yeah.
If you're an Oscar pundit relying on stats and history, I have zero faith in you. It has nothing to do. This year has nothing to do with last year. It has nothing to do with 2 years ago or 40 years ago.
Yeah.
These races are in a vacuum.
But you can't tell me, which you tweeted out, which I thought was completely incorrect, this idea that all of a sudden the Oscars default to these popular movies when they have been handing movies that 10 people have seen every year best picture. You know how many people you saw Nomadland for real? Now all of a sudden they love mainstream films? Come on, Jeff. The big knock against the Oscars for like the last 10 years has been you guys just only love these small films that nobody goes to see and you give the awards to. Now all of a sudden they're jacking off the Top Gun Maverick. That's bullshit. Come on now. You know the truth.
It's all about quality. Like Top Gun is my favorite movie of the year.
You'll get no argument from me on that.
Coda was my favorite movie of last year. So like, I don't get it. I don't get it.
Okay. We need a longer show. Derek Johnson says, Sneider, I'm hoping you get more informed on systemic racism and underlying biases dealing with race. The reason you hear about it more is because now through video, people are now seeing a clear view of the hate people of color experience. Yeah, exactly. And I'm so frustrated by white people and white people are good.
People of color get discriminated against. Like, I'm not arguing that systemic racism doesn't exist. I'm saying that the Academy, which is an organization made up of largely liberal people, right? Is this not a liberal fucking town that I live in?
I don't know.
That's the illusion. You don't know?
No, it's the illusion.
There you go. I will tell you. It is a liberal town. We're in Los Angeles.
Okay. I lived there for 20 years, and it's not as liberal as people think.
There are pockets. They're just like anywhere else, but this is like, what? I live 10 minutes from fucking West Hollywood. What?
Yeah, West Hollywood is liberal. That's your pocket. But the rest of Hollywood can be quite racist, can be quite sexist, can be quite a bunch of dicks. It's all a matter of these areas, man. It's more pockets of liberalism than it is overall.
The Academy is full of very, very intelligent, educated people. And I don't think that anyone is sitting. Not that any. Okay, I won't say use the word anyone.
Yeah, these are the things you have to be careful with how you use it.
Racists sitting there at the Academy meetings, right?
Right.
To sway the vote total of a nominate, like of something like it's not.
You're trying to paint it as some kind of conspiracy and they all got together. That's not what might have happened. What might have happened.
I'm not painting it like that. It's Gina Prince Bythewood who's painting it like that.
I think it's more a matter of, like you said, people did some of the Academy didn't feel the inclination to watch an aggressive black film like The Woman King, which is a revenge film, or go back in time to see the Till movie that goes back in time to explore a terrible display of racism by white people.
I gave you a reason for the Till thing, which is that no one wants to watch Till because no one wants to watch a woman grieve her dead son who looks like a bloated catfish. You know, the corpse is in the water, guys. Like, spoiler alert.
But she wanted.
No one wants to spend their Saturday night watching that. The Woman King is not the same issue.
Okay,
that's not the same issue.
Okay, all right. So you think the Academy wanted? Do you think enough Academy members watched it and decided not to vote for it? That's your premise,
right? Because I think that's what Gina's saying is that my movie, no one's watching my movie. How do you get for your consideration if no one's pressing play? That's how I think she ended it, right?
Yeah.
And I just feel like that's just such an assumption. What do you mean? You assume people just didn't watch your movie? Like I have to believe if I think that the Oscars matter, that your movie was watched and it was considered and they decided to go in a different direction.
Right. And I think that's where you and I are going to differ, because as I've gotten older, the idea of holding on to these idealistic points of views about institutions are over for me.
Why is it idealistic and not just a real possibility? Why am I an asshole for saying?
Because no, I don't say you're an asshole. I didn't say that.
But in general, people think I am.
Okay.
Why am I an asshole for saying, Gina, actually people did watch your movie, they thought it over, they considered it, and they said, in the end, I'm going with a different movie. Why is that not possible?
I think all things are possible.
To her, it is impossible. That is not what she said.
Right. Because she loves her movie and she thinks she directed objectively a damn good movie.
Gina, that's the other thing. All these people, they're surrounded by awards consultants and publicists and saying, you don't even have to go to that dinner tonight. No, you're going to get nominated. You're a lock. Look at Clayton Davis. Look what he wrote. Look what Scott Feinberg wrote. You're number 2 on his chart. You're not going to suddenly fall off. And so you don't need to go to the dinner. And we don't need to buy that new that ad next week in Variety. We're good. We've got it. This is a fucking fuck up of campaigning. MGM. Right. I got pitched a column today about MGM's shitty campaigning, and I nixed it because it was too mean. Okay, I know I nixed something because it was too fucking mean. But
if you write this down,
they didn't get, and I thought that they did. Was Jared Leto nominated for Gucci? No. Was Lady Gaga nominated for Gucci? No. Was Jennifer Hudson nominated for Respect? No. So MGM has a fucking problem with campaigning. Yeah. It's not that we don't like Danielle Deadwyler, who, by the way, was excellent. Yes. I would have voted for Danielle Deadwyler. I wouldn't have voted for Viola Davis. That's why I said throughout FYC, I think Olivia Colman's going to get nominated. Was I right on that? No. But it ended up going to a different white lady, Leslie Reiser. I never thought Viola had the stuff. Both of these movies, John, if I thought that these were A movies, you wouldn't hear me talking about them like this.
Right.
But I thought they were B+ movies. I thought they were both on the bubble titles that in the end came up short. Be better.
But I couldn't disagree with you more. I think The Woman King is an A+ movie, or an A movie.
A+ movie, The Woman King.
Yeah, I do. I think it's fantastic. It's on HBO Max now. And I imagine a lot of people who came out against Gina Prince Bythewood have not even fucking seen The Woman King.
You're entitled to an opinion, but I am glad you're not an Academy member if you think that's an A+ movie.
I do. I do think that's an A movie. No, I misspoke. It's an A movie. I don't think it's A. You said what? It's a B movie. I think Woman King is an A movie. Let me correct myself. It's an A movie for sure. Until you're right, Danielle Deadwyler, that's an incredible performance. The only thing, it might be that people didn't want to see it, but they were honoring what Till's mother did in real life, which is she wanted an open casket funeral so that everybody could see what these white men did to her child. That and that white woman who lied, allegedly. That's what she wanted. So by showing her, they did that so that people who watch the movie will understand that it is starting to happen all over again in our society, and that needs to stop. So.
And that's a great message. And it's, again, a movie that everybody should see. It's a movie that I will admit I didn't want to see.
Yeah.
I was reluctant to see it because I didn't want to spend 2 hours like that. And Perry and Scott convinced me, and they said, it's not what you're thinking. And they were right. And I was wrong. And it was very good. I'm glad that I saw it.
So let me turn around your logic and say, thank God you're not an Academy voter, because no Academy voter should be hesitating to watch a movie in consideration for an award. And if you are, and if you're watching, get the fuck out of the Academy.
But we've been over this a million times. You cannot, will you admit this?
There's difference. Time versus desire are two separate things, Jeff.
Okay.
I will give you time. I'm not going to give you desire.
But if you have a limited time, then choices must be made, and you have to choose which movie do I want to watch more, right? Which movie do I want to watch more and sit there and use my life to watch?
And if you're choosing to watch, almost all white movies because you like that material better or you connect to it better over any or limited number of black movies, then yes, I'm going to question you. And yes, society should question you 100%, because that means you're defaulting to the experience that you can connect to instead of opening your mind to look at something else to see what's possible. And I don't buy your premise that I have a limited amount of time, therefore I'm only going to, no, you know what? It's only 20 to 25, 30 movies that really come into consideration for Best Picture. We all monitor it and follow it throughout the year.
Spend our lives watching movies. We're not Oscar-winning directors who are fucking making movies and don't have time to watch 30 movies. What are you talking about?
You make time for things that are important to you, and you know that. You make time. I've seen Jeff stay up till 3 a.m. writing a column. You make time for things that are important to you. So JC Mighty says, tell him, Rocha. Well, we'll see. We're just having, we're friends back, busting back and forth. Derek John says, I'm 100% behind Rocha on this. If you watched The Woman King and didn't feel the mother-daughter story, action story, the revenge plot seems wild to me. It didn't get nominated. Geek buddies for life. Respect, Derek.
Again, this is the other thing. I felt it. It was good. I'm giving it a B+. I liked the movie. It doesn't mean I have to think it's one of the 10 best movies of the year.
Do you think all 10 of those movies are A's?
No. Woman Talking was horrible. I would easily
put Woman King go in for Woman Talking?
I'm not in the fucking Academy.
Would you have done that?
I would have voted for The Woman King over Women Talking.
Thank you. There we go. Yeah, I agree with you. It is a little frustrating. Look, I know it's probably I can't speak on it because I haven't seen it yet, so I'm not going to speak on it. But because I hate when people do that. But I'd be very surprised if that film lands higher for me than The Woman King. I've seen many, many films of white women being in situations like that where they're subjugated by the men in a religious or systemic type of thing. I've seen many films like that. The Woman King, I've not seen many films like that.
Which Oscar contenders did I refuse to see? Do you want to know?
Sure. You're admitting it. Go ahead.
I will. To Leslie and Living.
Wow.
Those are white movies. I'm a white guy. Does this make sense to anybody?
Well, you were refusing
I don't want to watch them. I don't fucking care about them.
You were refusing to see till they talked you into it. So,
So it's because of the story. It had nothing to do with the race.
But it's a story about racism.
What the fuck? And I was convinced to watch the story. No one's convinced me to watch Living.
Yeah. Well, it's a remake of Ikaru, so whatever. Victor Garrity says major progress has been made in film and RV on so many fronts, and in order to move forward, we have to acknowledge and applaud that fact. Major, no. There has been some. This is the delusion of the narrative that there's been major progress. Go and look at all the studies. There was a study that just dropped earlier this week that talked about there was a 1%, 2% increase in diversity on the TV side of things. That is not major in any fucking way, shape, or form. Stop swallowing that bullshit narrative. We are making incremental changes. Yes, it's not major in any way, shape, or form.
I feel like as a reporter, let me put the reporter hat on.
Sure.
Take the analyst hat off. As a reporter, there's no question that there have been huge changes. Dude, I'm telling you, I wrote the article. In fact, it's the only one that I won an award for. I've won one award in my career.
Okay.
And it was for an article about studios that didn't have any female directors working.
Yeah.
Okay. And that was for like a 2-year forecast.
Uh-huh.
Now every studio has women directing. Every studio and streamer is making movies directed by and starring people of color. I know, like back 10 years ago when I got out here and I was at Variety, if someone was like, oh, I think it's going to star a black actress, I'd be like, oh, so Halle Berry, like Viola Day, like who are we talking about? Like, there was only a few of them, right? That you'd consistently hear for top projects. Now I could name 100. So, the idea that progress isn't being made is a falsehood.
I didn't say it wasn't being made. The idea that major progress is that's being the falsehood.
The person who I think had the biggest beef at BAFTA was Naomi Ackie, who was great as Whitney Houston. The problem she didn't win that Rising Star Award, is because British people watched fucking the British TV show Sex Education. Okay? They didn't go to the Whitney Houston movie. They watched the British movie, the British show, Sex Education. That's why Emma Mackey won, even though if you're trying to tell me Emma Mackey's a better actress than Naomi Ackie, you're crazy.
Okay. Fair enough.
I'm not a racist. I defend so many black people. Who's the first person in the world, on this planet?
You don't have to qualify.
Anthony Mackie should be Captain America.
I know, you don't.
I'm answering everybody else. Who's the person who said Anthony Mackie should be fucking Captain America? I'm the first person on the planet.
Yeah, I don't think Jeff is a racist, but I do think
I can argue that, yeah, black people, they're not infallible. You're not always right about everything. You're entitled to your feelings and your opinions, but let's not present them and have the media, more specifically, have the media present them as fact.
She's got a right to write her piece.
She does, and I've said that.
Yeah. All right. Derek Johnson saying it's the entire machine, Jeff. Don't segment it off. The entire machine has been this way. Guess Moses with Heston, which won a ton of awards, was a strong black lead. It's the entire system. Well, sure, but that was a while ago.
Charlton Heston, folks. We're bringing up Charlton Heston in a conversation about 2023.
That's Charlton Heston is from when it was way more racist back then, for sure. Suck says, Jeff, why women talking and not the woman king? Well, he said he would vote for the woman king over women talking.
Why? I think they're asking, why did it get in? I mean,
why did it get? Well, because it's. Don't make me say it. Don't make me say it.
Dude, I don't know. It was unwatchable.
I know why it got in. Jared Johnson, so nobody wanted to watch a show about a child murder, but there's over 50 films about Nazis. So mass death is cool, just not a black child's death's too close to home. I mean, I think Derek's valid on that one.
No. That is a good point, Derek. And I thought about that in the column. I'm like, why will people watch Schindler's List and not Till, right? Because they're both a bummer. They're both not a fun Saturday night. And they both, here's the thing. I use the word homework, right? Till felt like homework. It did. To watch it. Now, in order to actually press play.
Yeah.
It felt, right? It felt like this is not a movie that I want to watch. It's a movie I have to watch. And that is the thing that people have to overcome. You can't make it a movie that you have to watch this. Make it a movie, trust me, you want to watch this. I understand with the Holocaust stuff, but come on, dude, that's different. And and I'm not gonna lie, fucking Academy's a bunch of Jewish old white guys. Like that's true. And that's why I was saying the Fablemans early on in the season is probably gonna win. Right? I'm not saying you're not wrong about that.
I'm not saying anything. I'll let you say.
I can say, okay, yeah, there's a lot of fucking Jews in the Academy, and that's why they like movies like The Pianist and fucking Inglourious Bastards and fucking Schindler's List. Is there something wrong? I just don't get what's wrong with that necessarily. Or are those not great movies? Those were deserving films.
No, I think what Derek is saying, how come
films like Moonlight and deserving black performances?
But I think what Derek is saying is that there are so many films about Nazis and the Jewish experience with Nazis that are always considered, always looked at. But one film about a black kid who was killed is like, I can't watch it. I don't want to watch it. I don't feel like watching it. It's like, well, why is that? And that's what I think is at the core of what Gina is trying to say. What a lot of people of color, black people and people of color are trying to say is, why are these majority white institutions not being open to considering or watching these films? And I think that's their premise, right? And I think the way to expose that, again, as we said at the beginning 20 minutes ago, is about releasing the numbers, releasing how many people voted, so we can know how much of the percentage of the Academy is actually voting for these awards. But I tell you this, I bet they never are going to release that, because it would show how much of a possible sham these Oscars might be if only 30% of your voting base is voting for it. Just like with the politics, if only 30% of the country is voting for president, is that really a president that won the popular vote? We don't know. So these are these things that could expose the Oscars, and that's the last thing the Academy would ever do, is release those numbers, even though they should.
Let's move on.
Yeah, sure.
Because I think we've been going around in circles long enough. I think people want to hear some other things.
Yeah.
So we're going long. Let's do another 10 minutes or whatever, but let's talk about Cocaine Bear, Flash.
Okay.
Yeah, let's talk about those two things.
All right. Well, first, Steven Yuen in the MCU. This is a great thing. We're going to the Geek Buddies might be going live tomorrow, so we'll talk about that, just letting you all know. So tune in for that tomorrow morning. But yes, good thing that he's going to be in Thunderbolts. Aquaman 2 early screenings are saying negative things from people who've seen these screenings. I don't buy into the concept that nobody is talking about these screenings. People are talking about these screenings. People have gone to these screenings, and I do believe people are talking and violating their NDAs, because this town is full of a bunch of loose-tongued people. So, that town, rather, I don't live there anymore, but that's the truth. All right, what is it? You want to talk about Cocaine Bear? Let's do it.
Yeah, my review will hit tomorrow. You saw it, Johnny, right? You really liked it, didn't you?
I loved it. I had a really good time. Look, it hit the mark that it was aiming for in spades, and I had a great time watching that movie. I didn't expect much from it, and it entertained, just like a Violent Night, completely hit the mark, entertained the shit out of me. I was in and out of there in 90 minutes, and I rolled on to my next thing in life, and I love that.
I liked it as well. It was fun. It's exactly the experience that the trailers are selling. I mean, it's right there in the title, just like Snakes on a Plane.
Yeah.
No more, no less. I kind of wish it had almost even gone like push the envelope a little bit even further. But then it may not have been like a studio commercial movie. It would have, it would have been like a midnight movie or something.
It would have veered into too horror. It would have too horror for that. Yeah.
Right. Listen, it was fun. It has energy, a fun cast.
Yeah.
Like, I think it's a good time of the movies. And most importantly, Johnny, 90 minutes.
Yeah, I know. But I will say this. That's the only, and I said this in my non-spoiler review, which is up on my channel now. That's the only thing I dinged it for, is it felt like the ending was a bit rushed. And I think they made her cut it down, and you felt that at the end. It felt like a little too rushed. There should have been a little more build-up. Once Ray Liotta shows up, there should have been a little more build-up there with that whole situation. And it just kind of got to that ending a little bit more quickly. Maybe 10 extra minutes, I'd have been okay with that.
It felt a little choppy at times. Yeah. It's not a perfect movie. Like, it maybe should have been a little bit better, but how do you get mad about a movie called Cocaine Bear not being better? Like, it delivered the fucking goods.
It absolutely did.
And by the way, real quick, just to back up for 1 second, the Holocaust movies and stuff, that's the equivalent of slavery movies, and that's why 12 Years a Slave won.
Mm-hmm.
Which was, again, a movie that people thought Gravity was going to beat 12 Years a Slave. Like, what?
Yeah,
that was a real thing. People thought Gravity was going to beat 12 Years a Slave.
Well, all white stars. Maybe there's a valid case to be made. It could have happened. All right, the Flash at CinemaCon? Jeff, are we going to be back at Cinema? I applied.
Dude, we're going to go back there, right? We're going to be there, Johnny. You and me sitting next to each other.
Hell yeah. Another great movie. I hope they let me in. If not, I'll find my way to get in under some other outlet. But I'm going to fucking CinemaCon. I don't go to Sun, whatever it is. I don't go to fucking South by Southwest. I don't go to freeze my nuts off in Toronto, but I will go to CinemaCon.
3 nights in Vegas is fairly cheap, especially if you don't stay at Caesars, where the presentation is. If you stay at a hotel further down the strip, like, it's a pretty affordable trip. You just get to watch movie trailers for 4 days. It's like my Super Bowl, because I love trailers and shit like that. I hope that they actually, have some surprises. I mean, there's been so many trailers the last 2 weeks. I'm like, it's just what we're going to now watch in a month. But anyways, The Flash, ton of confidence, right? It's a real sign of confidence that Warner Bros. is unfurling that 6 weeks in advance. Clearly, they can't be too concerned about spoilers. Maybe it's because there's not a ton of stuff that's carrying over further in the DCU. But like I said, for months when we were talking about the Ezra Miller of it all, they think this movie is the goods, and we're never going to throw it in the trash or get rid of them.
It's very similar to Top Gun Maverick in this way. They held Top Gun for 4 years till it was able to be released in theaters because they knew they had a winner. They have survived all kinds of shit WB has for saving this Flash movie and not firing Ezra Miller just yet. It's because they have that much faith in this movie is going to make a lot of money. So 2 different approaches, but both of them screened at CinemaCon to build up the buzz. So it makes sense.
I'm like curious to see if there's going to be another feature that screens in full at CinemaCon. What did we see last year?
Black Phone.
Was there another one though?
Black Phone was the other one.
That was it.
Yeah, I think so.
There's 2. I knew I'd blown one off though. Once
we saw 20 minutes of Doctor Strange and 20 minutes of Across the Spider-Verse.
I leave the theater for that stuff. I don't want to see 20 minutes of it.
Fair enough. All right, real quick. Fincher revealing that Mindhunter season 3 is dead. Why do we need 7 seasons of somebody feed Phil, but we can't get a 3rd fucking season of Mindhunter, man?
I mean, because it's too fucking expensive, right? They make this show. Not enough people watch it. They say, David, we have a relationship with you. We're going to give you a 2nd season, right? But if the people don't watch that one, we can't really do a 3rd. So be grateful that we got 2 seasons.
Yeah.
But the way that he wants to do it, and he shouldn't have to compromise his vision. I don't think anybody wants to see a compromised version of Mindhunter.
Yeah.
Yeah, you know what? That's what I love about Fincher is he's willing to walk away if he's not going to get his way, which is
Why
how,
do it? Right.
Which is how artists should be. I mean, not every artist can be, because not every artist is in that position.
Yeah.
But if you are, fucking good for Fincher. He is about to close something huge at Netflix.
Oh, okay.
The huge thing going on with Fincher at Netflix right now. I don't know if it is the Chinatown prequel or if it is something else.
Okay.
I mean, it feels like it's something else, because the Chinatown prequel I already thought was set up there, but maybe that's just getting a green light. Henry Cavill has been rumored to play Jake Gittes.
Wow.
I think that was on Giant Freaking Robot a couple months ago or something. Obviously, Netflix, likes Henry Cavill, wants to stay in the Henry Cavill business.
Get Cavill, man.
Just stay tuned, because there will be some Fincher news probably pretty soon.
Okay. Weinstein getting 16 years today. Is this it? He's going to die in prison, right?
Fucking make it 17. Like, what the fuck? Like, lock this piece of shit up and be like, where did I put that key?
Do you think the Oscar films should be reevaluated because he produced them, pushed them, campaigned
Absolutely.
for them? Huh? No. All right.
No. Harvey Weinstein, and an excellent producer, an amazing producer with fantastic taste. Not afraid to say that. But a horrible monster of a man who deserves to die alone in prison.
I agree. 100%.
Doesn't change the movies, though. Doesn't change the movies, folks.
Okay. An It prequel series. Are we excited? Not excited? Second film wasn't that good, in my opinion.
I would be more excited if it wasn't Muschietti. And I realized, we're talking about how great the Flash is. I didn't like the first It, and I thought the second one was horrible.
Wow. I like the first one.
Yeah, the first one was okay, but I was disappointed. I mean, I grew up on the miniseries. The miniseries, the most terrifying thing if you were a child.
If you're a child, because I watch it now and it's ridiculous.
You may think it's corny and hokey.
Mm-hmm.
No, I still go back to being like a 9-year-old kid and watching that It miniseries, and it fucked my shit up. So, maybe the movies were always doomed in that regard, but I was not very impressed by them. I wish someone else was doing this prequel, but I'm going to watch it. Right?
Okay. Richard Belzer passed away. Thoughts, real quick?
Love the bells. So if you can't see up there, but I actually have a Homicide: Life on the Street box set, because I am a fucking nerd.
Criminally underappreciated show, man.
I used to stay home from middle school dances, John, and watch it on Friday nights. And I remember, if I did go to a middle school dance, I would, record it on VHS or whatever. I think that show is one of the greatest shows in the history of television.
Agreed.
And particularly Andre Braugher, one of the greatest characters, in the history of television. Frank
Pemberton, man.
Pemberton, right?
Yeah.
I keep going Pemberton. But Belzer, I mean, I didn't realize how many shows he'd played Munch on. I knew he'd been on 4 or 5 or 6. It was 11 or 12 or something. He had a whole Munch universe.
It was a Munchverse.
Jewish wit and everything. I wish I saw him in more stuff. His stand-up was also pretty good, the clips that I have seen. And so, I'm going to miss this guy. And I love that his last words were, fuck you, motherfucker, or whatever.
So perfect. Is there anything else? I don't want to say anything about Addison Rae. Who cares? She can't act, but they're going to give her Eli Roth. No surprise. Eli Roth is in the Addison Rae business. Let's see. No, we were talking about that. Waco. Anything on the Wake? Oh, wait, Ryan Reynolds and Guillermo's new movie. Anything to say on those things?
And Steven Yuen.
We mentioned Steven Yuen earlier with the MCU and Thunderbolts. So.
Oh, did we?
I did before we started this thing.
Oh, okay. Ryan Reynolds doing a boy band movie. I mean, sounds like a fun thing. I want to see more comedies. Yeah. That's a start. Guillermo del Toro doing another animated movie for Netflix. The Buried Giant. Is that what it is?
Yeah.
I mean, it sounded. Kazuo Ishiguro is an incredible novelist. I'm not familiar with that book or story, but I think Guillermo's earned the right to do whatever he wants after Pinocchio and everything else he's done.
Pinocchio is the greatest. Pinocchio is the greatest.
Good.
I loved. You haven't seen Pinocchio yet?
I saw it was good. I'm not doing cartwheels. It was good.
You're insane. All right, real quick, we got two StreamLabs. I am Two Fly Camp says, any Star Wars news to spill? Tell me they aren't bringing back Rey for God's sakes.
The only thing Rey Daisy Ridley.
Yeah, but with the The next Star Wars celebration is in 2025, and a lot of people are saying that's a 10-year anniversary of Force Awakens, so they might announce that Daisy Ridley and John Boyega might be coming back as Rey and Finn.
I think that's probably true. The Daisy Ridley, at least. But I don't know if she'd be like Rey or like Force Ghost Rey, or I don't know. What are these things? Am I even saying it right? I don't fucking know.
Okay, fair enough. Doug Developer says it's a lose-lose situation for people of color anyway, because when we win Oscars, there will be a mob of people claiming we only won because of our race. That's fair. As if our performance has never had any merit. Look for that when Bassett wins this year. Yes, I bet there's going to be quite a number of people going to come out and say, oh, she didn't deserve to win it. If there were other people, just like people were saying Black Panther didn't deserve to be nominated. It should have been Avengers Infinity War. You saw that the whole time that year as well. So, or Into the Spider-Verse should have been nominated for Best Picture over Black Panther. So that's the other side of this as well, Jeff, I think.
Well, it's not. I'm not going to. That's kind of true. I mean, all the noise about the black snubs, right? You don't think that's going to benefit Angela Bassett somehow?
Maybe.
I think she will benefit from it. I do think there probably will be some people who will say, oh, she only won because she's black. That's not true. She was very good in the movie. Yeah, I said I don't think she deserves to win, right? Because you can only think one person deserves to win. That's the other thing that was in the column that I'm writing. Everyone thinks everybody deserves to win. You only get to say that once per category, folks. Pick one person who you think deserves to win. So, no, I don't think that Angela Bassett deserves to win an Oscar this year. I think Hong Chow deserves to win an Oscar this year.
Okay.
Angela Bassett was very good. And there's merit to her performance. I don't think if she wins, it's only going to be because she was black. It's because she's also very good.
Yeah, in the movie, yeah.
But I don't think she's going to win.
Okay.
That's me going against the grain. And that's a Marvel thing. That's not a race thing. I think the Academy is going to have a problem giving it to a Marvel performance.
Yeah, that shit needs to stop as well. Look, you're a horror guy. You know how the Academy is biased against horror. All that shit needs to stop. Wide open.
Joaquin Phoenix won, right? That's a DC performance. So I'm not, Heath Ledger won.
Yeah, but it wasn't a comic book movie, right? It wasn't. That wasn't the approach.
Exactly, which is why I think the comic book approach, right, with Black Panther: Wakanda Forever, could be the drawback that prevents old white people or whoever in the Academy from voting for her. Not because she's black, but because she's in a Marvel movie. Yeah. That's why. Yeah. And that's why my prediction won't be her.
You all need to get moved out of the Academy. All you old white people, get out of the Academy, folks. Because I think it's a great category, because I think Hong Chow was fantastic in The Whale. By the way, I'm pissed that Brandon Fraser is losing steam. Like it sounds like it's not going to happen now. And I loved Stephanie Hsu in Everything Everywhere All at Once, and I loved Carrie Condon in fucking Banshees of Inisherin. She's so good in that movie. So it's a tough category. I think they're all delivered fantastic performances. Yeah, would I like Angela to win? Sure. Would I be broken up if she doesn't? I'll be sad, but I think there are a lot of great performances in that category for sure. So it'd be tough.
That's the thing. Only one can win. And just because someone loses doesn't mean 10,000 people are racist, right? It just means there's so much talent in this town, but we only have 5 nomination slots and we only have one winner. Sorry. Yeah. We live in this world where everybody wants a trophy for everything because they did a good job. And it's not enough to do a good job. You have to do a great job. Try to tell me we don't live in a participation trophy world.
No, because there's still awards given out to people. So, and look, we have one of the greatest shows on the internet. We can't get 100,000 views per episode. So, what can I tell you? And Black Cinema Critic, yes, I know Star Wars Celebration is this year. I was saying the next one because we're already in this year, Black Cinema Critic, for God's sakes. All right. Anything else? Now, Derek, I'm sorry. I can't read these other two. I don't want to get into it all over again. So thank you for sending the support, though. I appreciate it.
I know. Wait, is that Eric Johnson?
Yeah. He wanted one more. He had a couple more.
Derek, you don't have to keep throwing money at us to get questions on the air. I really appreciate the questions and the things that you sent in today. You made good points and asked good questions without being obnoxious and everything. And so I appreciate your participation in this episode.
Ditto. Thank you, Derek. Always appreciate you showing up in all the stuff we do in the Outlaw Nation. So thank you, Derek, very much. And as I said, Geek Buddies tomorrow live. We're going to announce it here in the next hour or so once we settle on a time. Jeff, all right, any final things before we wrap up? We're already an hour and 25 minutes. It's the longest one we've had in a while.
Get out of here. I got the sweaty juice. I got to take this thing off and go shower.
Okay.
This heat light, this lamp is just like, oh my God, I'm schwitzing.
All right, Jeff, another fun show. Please let people know where they can find you and read your stuff other than the internet, of course, other than Twitter.
Yeah, don't follow me on Twitter, apparently. BTLnews.com, abovetheline.com, LAmag.com. Look for the Cocaine Bear review tomorrow.
Yeah. Go see Cocaine Bear, y'all. As for me, you can follow me at The Rocha Says on Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok, The Outlaw Nation on Twitch. And I'm doing more, I'm a little more on TikTok. So, I'm going to figure this out. I'm going to start putting 1-minute clips of the shows on TikTok. Certainly.
50-year-old man.
What's that?
You got a 50-year-old man on TikTok.
I don't know who that is. I'm 35. And you can subscribe to the channel down below. Hit that subscribe button, hit that bell button so you see we're dropping all the content we do here. And leave a comment and leave a like. Thanks for all the StreamLabs and SuperChats. We love you all. Have a great weekend and tune in next week. We're going to bring you another live episode of the Hot Mic here, brought to you by Above the Line. Go and visit them, abovetheline.com, here on the Outlaw Nation channel. Peace, y'all.
Thank you.